As above, so below. That is the topic. This is the seed of life in the center, and it ripples out to the flower of life. This is the flower of life. It is just a bunch of fucking circles. But look how pretty it is. So when you draw the flower of life, you start repatterning your brain and you start really seeing a whole lot of stuff. So that's also this week's activity is going to be to draw the flower of life. When you do this over and over and over again, which so when I did this, it was during the first year I was really super fucking depressed, and just drew the flower of life over and over and over and over again in my bathtub crying and stuff. And but what I discovered in that process was actually it was really fun. I love sitting and crying and doing magic. It's great. So yeah, if you can't tell, I'm feeling way better than last week. So here, what makes this really magical is when you stare at it with your shaman eyes. And so your shaman eyes are when you're looking at things really fuzzy and kind of letting your eyes go into soft focus. And so basically you stare at it like a 3D puzzle and a 3D image thing, whatever, 3D eye, magic eye, that's what it's called. So you stare at it like a magic eye and you just stare at it a whole bunch until it becomes 3D and it moves and it does all of these things. But yeah, so you can draw these circles over and over and over again. So the reason we're doing this is because we're going to go down to the micro pattern. See? Beep! And we're going to flip this micro pattern so that we can affect the whole pattern. Because if one of those fucking circles is off in the beginning, it fucks up the whole thing. So that's what we're going to be doing. And one of the big struggles that people have is that they frequently only notice the results of patterns when they have manifested negatively in their 2D world. And so if you remember this, so when things manifest negatively in your 2D world, that's when you're accidentally tripping over your feet and smashing your face into the wall or something because you weren't listening to all the subtle signs that maybe you're out of your body and maybe you have a ghost attached to you. Maybe, yeah. So anyway, so ghosts and spirit talk to us in the same way. So how that works is they start talking to us here on the 7th density. And if we're not fucking listening, they go to the 6th, and the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd, and the 2nd density. And so it's all spirit messages. So even the ghosts are spirit messages. They're messages from spirit that something is fucking wrong and that maybe you have some wounds and healing and some unprocessed trauma that is ready to be healed or is creating all of these patterns that you don't like. Hold on, where's that one? There we go. There we go. All the patterns that you don't like. Yeah, so the really cool thing is that when you start listening to what's happening on the 2nd density in the 2D reality, you can start shifting things there. And another thing that happens is, ooh, I look really ghosty. So anyway, you can shift things there. And when you start paying attention to things in the physical reality, what happens is you start noticing them in the third density sooner, which is the emotional realm. So then you start feeling the emotions of ghosts or feeling things before they end up reacting to your physical environment. So then what happens is when you start feeling into the spirit messages and the third density and what's going on there, then you can, then you can start time traveling and doing all that stuff and feeling into the lighter and lighter and lighter densities. But yeah, so, the basic principle, and you guys will probably hear this a lot in spirituality stuff, is as above, so below. And this is really like the core essence of what it means. So as, like, if you start this tiny, tiny, tiny little pattern in the middle, and it's going to ripple out and have, like, lasting effects. So what we're going to do in the next several months is that we're going deep, 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 deep into our little tiny patterns, and we are going to look at them and sit with them and then go there and have an awareness of them. So we're not really looking at changing them right now. So the worst thing you can do is to try to change things. So I'm sure you probably have a bucket list of things that you want to change, or like all your goals and stuff like that, and we'll get there. Right now what we're doing is we are looking at the pattern that already exists, and once you look at that pattern and see how it ripples out into your life, it will start automatically changing just because of your awareness. And so this is like one of the really big important concepts, and we kind of tend to make things a whole lot more complicated than they really are, but really we just need to like look at the pattern and see what's happening, and bring awareness to it, and then it kind of like and gives us a chance to make a nice pretty new pattern. Your activity for this week is to draw the flower of life and to look at it with your shaman eyes and to spend some significant time doing that. And you can do it all sorts of different colors. You can do it a million times and whatever. And in the activity area, I'll give you some directions on how I draw the flower of life. Also, bonus points for the first person to write below and comment in the section what the flower of life looks like in 3D. So when this is 3D, what does it look like? What's the shape? So that's your homework. Figure out what shape this is in 3D. Draw it, stare at it, and figure it out. It has so much to teach you, and a lot of the like magical shit I found is literally all just the keys are all in here. Okay? Have fun!